Hey y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle. Today we are going to make another delicious Thanksgiving side dish, candied sweet potatoes from scratch. What you're going to need for these absolutely delicious candied sweet potatoes are 3 pounds of sweet potatoes. You're going to need some brown sugar, and you can use light or dark, whichever you prefer. Light gives it a little more delicate flavor. Dark gives it a more hearty flavor. Either way you go, it's going to be sweet. There's no way around it. You're going to need butter. You're going to need light or dark corn syrup. I'm using dark corn syrup today. Normally, I would probably use light corn syrup, but they're used interchangeably, so that's fine. And then, for me, these are optional ingredients, but I add a pinch of chipotle powder to give it a little spicy kick, and about 1/4 of a cup of orange juice, and it just kind of helps cut through that sweet. You're also going to want salt and pepper, of course. So we're going to put all of the ingredients aside, because the first thing that we need to do is to peel the sweet potatoes. Some people bake them and then cut them up. Since these don't get mashed, I prefer to peel them and then just slightly undercook them. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next few minutes. You guys already know how to peel sweet potatoes, so I'm not going to bore you with that, but I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, we've got these all trimmed and cut, and now what you're going to do is try not to drop the knife on the floor. You're going to cut these in kind of in thick rounds, about 1 inch this way, or you can cut them in a large dice, whatever. I like to cut them in rounds, and they're about that thick, so like halfway to my first knuckle. That doesn't help if your hands are bigger than mine, but you get the idea. And if I didn't make myself clear before, I want to make sure that I say it again. Do not bake these. Go ahead and do them this way and boil them, because if you bake them or put them in the microwave or the air fryer, they're going to be overcooked. They're just going to turn to mush, and these don't get mashed. They hold their shape, and they're so pretty. So just do it this way. We're going to put them in boiling water that's been salted, and then we're going to let them cook for about 10 minutes. Maybe 15, just depending, and until they are underdone. So they're kind of tender. They've started to get tender, but they're not like put them on the plate and eat them tender, okay? All right. And I'm going to go ahead and cut these in half because they're so much bigger than the rest of them, and I want them to have the opportunity to cook pretty evenly. So I got these in a big bag from the store. They were all in there together, and they were like all different sizes. If you are going to the store and you're picking out individual sweet potatoes, try to make sure they're the same size, so that way you don't have to make like some of them cut in half and some of them not cut in half. I think those are going to be okay. Anyway, if they're all the same size, everything will be even without you having to trim it up. I don't worry too much that they're exactly the same thickness. So, like I said, some of them will get done more than others, but it'll work out where they're all okay. 3 pounds of sweet potatoes will feed about 6 people, depending on how many other side dishes you have. All right, now they're all sliced. I am going to just pop them in some boiling water, and I'm going to boil them for, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes, or until they are just barely starting to get tender, and then we'll go on to the next step. They have been simmering away here for about 10 minutes, and I'm going to check one and just see if it's the right consistency. Again, we want it not all the way cooked, but at least partially cooked. And that is just about exactly right. I might give it just another couple of minutes, and then we'll drain them and get started. Okay, I've gone ahead and drained the sweet potatoes really well, and now what I'm going to do is just put them in this bigger pan. I could technically do them in the stock pot that I cooked them in, but I like to have more open space so it's easier to baste them, and they're just easier to do in a wide pan. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the heat on to medium, and I'm going to slice the butter in here. You can put it in one big chunk if you want to, but I think it melts a little quicker this way. So as usual, y'all do y'all. Next, I'm going to add the brown sugar, and this is half a cup. You can use a little less if you don't like it as sweet. And I'm going to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon of chipotle powder just for a little kick. I don't want too much because I don't want to put anybody's mouth on fire, but just a little smoky kick is really nice in this. Again, that's totally optional. You don't have to do it. 1/4 cup of orange juice, just to give it a little depth of flavor. And then finally, I'm going to add the dark corn syrup. Remember, you can use either dark or light. And if you remember, I've told y'all, when you're measuring corn syrup or any kind of syrup, honey, anything like that that's sticky, go ahead and spray the inside of your measuring cup with non-stick cooking spray, and it will all just slip right out. It won't get stuck in there at all. Now, once that's done, we're just going to mix this up. And I'm going to kind of wait for the butter to melt and the mixture to come to a boil before I go on to the next thing. And really, the next thing is just waiting. We have approximately an hour to an hour and 15 minutes where this is just going to simmer away on the stove. And during that time, the sweet potatoes are going to continue to cook. That's why we didn't want to cook them all the way. And we're going to, every 15 minutes or so, come back and baste and make sure that they're all covered with this sauce. Now, this syrup, as it simmers, is going to get thicker and it's going to reduce. So it's not going to come out of there with a whole lot of syrup. You'll see. But anyway, so that's what we're doing now. Just waiting for the butter to melt. The brown sugar looks like it's already melted in. And you don't want to cover this, and I'll tell you why. You don't want to cover it because you want this mixture to reduce. You don't want the moisture to be held in. You want it to dissipate, okay? All right, well, here we go. I'm going to need a different spoon than this one. This one is too big and clunky. There we go, that's better. Now, once this reaches a simmer, I'm going to turn the heat down to low so that I don't have to stand right over it, because an hour, I don't know about you, but I do not have an hour and a half to stand over something and just watch it. Towards the end, the last 20 minutes or so, you're going to want to watch it because at that point it could start sticking to the bottom and you don't want that. But for this first 45 minutes to an hour, you really only need to check it like every 10 to 15 minutes to go ahead and baste it. All right, our butter is melted and it's starting to boil again. We don't ever want it to be a hard boil because the sweet potatoes will turn to mush. We don't want that either. All right, I'm going to turn the heat down to low. And that's it for now. Okay, y'all, I have been coming every 15 minutes and basting these, and you can see that the liquid has reduced almost to nothing. Some of the sweet potatoes have gotten mushy, the smaller ones, but they're just fine. It just looks delicious. It tastes delicious. When it gets to this point, it's going to look still a little bit liquid because some of the butter will be floating on top, but as it cools for about maybe 5 minutes, all of this is going to thicken up, and it's just the sweet potatoes are just soaked through with this candy syrup. So I'm going to call those done, turn the stove off. And by the way, if I forgot to tell you, you can make these 2 or 3 days ahead of time, keep them in the fridge, and then warm them right back up. The recipe on the blog has marshmallows on top of this, but I didn't feel like doing that today. So if you go to the blog to see those candied sweet potatoes, they have marshmallows on top, but you don't need to do that if you don't want to, okay? All right. Okay, y'all. Here it is. It is so good. It smells so good in this kitchen right now. I am going to admit to you that I overcooked this by a little bit. Some of y'all know we have a new dog, and he's a rescue, and he had to go out, and so it was at just a major point in time, and it got a little overcooked, but that's okay. It is delicious. This is why you want to keep your cuts as uniform as possible, because this mush, which is delicious, but delicious mush, is all those little tiny pieces of sweet potato that I had. So, but it smells delicious, it tastes delicious, and in a serving dish, it will look delicious, okay? All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this to the serving dish, because most of us will not be serving out of a pot at Thanksgiving. And you can see that these have soaked up every bit of that good butter and brown sugar and Karo syrup. So delicious. If you happen to do what I did and get busy doing something else and overcook these, you know, you can still whip them up and they'll be delicious that way too, if this look bothers you. I'll tell you right now, the way they taste, it does not bother me. And I could do them over again and just pretend that that didn't happen, but I live a real life, and I know y'all live real lives, and so sometimes things happen and we just have to make do. And so that's why usually in the videos, if I make a mistake or something doesn't work out quite right, I try to leave it in the video so you can see that it happens to me too, okay? All right, so here's our sweet potatoes. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna set these right here for now. One of the things that I do not like is a brown casserole going on the table, and it's just brown or orange and no other color. So I like to have a little parsley, fresh parsley, or thyme, or some other fresh green herb to go on top. Now, if you put marshmallows on top, you don't need the green herbs, right? But if you're gonna serve it like this, then let me suggest some parsley or thyme, fresh thyme, not the dried kind. And I'll show you why. So here's our dish of our sweet potatoes, and I'm just going to put a little bit of parsley on it, just a little sprinkle. My hands were wet, so it's sticking to my hands. Okay. And then I'm going to put a little sprinkle of salt on, and I use kosher salt, so it's a large kind of coarse salt. And if you use coarse salt or kosher salt, then you'll use more than if you use table salt. So in my recipes, let's say it calls for a teaspoon of kosher salt. If you're using regular table salt, you only want to use maybe half a teaspoon, okay? If something's oversalted, that's likely what happened. Anyway, with our coarse kosher salt, I'm gonna hold my hand up about 12 inches from the top and just sprinkle. And that helps it go on evenly without being too much in one place. And it just looks good. How's that? Delicious? I think so. So y'all, making candied sweet potatoes is no big deal. They're easy, they're delicious, they make the house smell good, and they just belong on your Thanksgiving table. I mean, what's Thanksgiving without sweet potatoes, right? Okay. I will see y'all next week. We will have one more Thanksgiving recipe before we hit the holidays, and I think we're gonna do cookies in December, maybe cookies and pies. And if there's something in particular that you would like me to do off of the blog that I haven't done a video on yet, go ahead and leave a comment or email me. My email is below, and let me know, and I'll be happy to at least think about it or look into it, okay? Okay, y'all, you've got to try these. They are so, so good. So, I will see y'all next week with one more Thanksgiving dish, and have a great week. I hope you come back. I hope you try this because it really is delicious. And I love y'all, and I will see y'all later, okay? All right, bye-bye. Amy and Decky, love you.